Standup Comedy, your host and MC, presents Comedy Appetizers, a podcast where you will find short comedy sets, stories, and funny bits from the famous and not so famous. Here is your host and MC, Scott Edwards.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the podcast, and we have another special audience of one, and we're in for a treat. You've heard him before, one of our favorite regulars. He was one of the stars of the Bob and Tom radio show. His podcast is doing very well, but what he's most famous for is his series called Vague But True. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Tim Bedore.
Here he is, a philosopher, a writer, a comedian, a man who has forgotten more than you'll ever forget, the host of Vague But True, Tim Bedore. Well, thank you very much. I recently had a dream that Bea Arthur and I were walking down the street looking for her stolen Honda Civic. Bea Arthur is the actress who played Maude on the popular 70s sitcom of the same name and was also the tall one on The Golden Girls. I don't know that character's name, I've never watched the show, but well, Bea Arthur and I were together in my dream, but for some reason, the two of us ended up in a bad part of downtown Kalamazoo, Michigan. Bea and I were walking, and all of a sudden, there it was, her 1983 Honda Civic. Bea rushes up and yanks this nasty-looking kid out of the driver's seat and starts to knock him around. And in my dream, I remember thinking, when she was playing that Maude character, she wasn't acting. Bea Arthur is one tough old broad. She's smacking this kid, yelling at him, and I'm thinking, Bea, we've got the car. Let's get out of here. But Bea keeps knocking the snot out of this kid, and he pulls a gun on her, and I yell, don't shoot. She's a celebrity. And the kid with the gun said, a celebrity? What is a celebrity doing driving a 1983 Honda Civic in downtown Kalamazoo? I had no idea, but I said, we're having an affair. I don't know why that was the first thing that came out of my mouth, but frighteningly, neither of the two kids said, no way, when informed of my sexual liaison with a woman twice my age and size. Then the kid with the gun said, if she's a celebrity, how come I don't recognize her? But his friend said, well, I think she's the tall one from the Golden Girls. And the kid with the gun said, yeah, I hate that show. And he aimed the gun at Bea, but Bea, in my dream anyway, has really quick hands and snatched the gun from the kid. I thought everything was over because we had the gun and the car and we could just leave. But Bea was just all jacked up. And she said, you hate the Golden Girls? Well, suck on this, punk. And she shot the guy right in the chin. Then Bea turned to me and said, let's you and me go someplace quiet and get comfortable. And that's when I woke up screaming. My wife asked me what I was dreaming about, and I said something about a rabid badger attacking me at Boy Scout camp during COVID while the stock market was crashing, and maybe I left the garage door open, which amazingly, she bought. What's my point? I would say generally you should never lie to your wife, but in some cases it's probably best. For Vague But True, I'm Tim Bedore.
Well, thank you, Tim. That was certainly an interesting story. You and Bea Arthur. I don't know if I'll get that image out of my head. Thanks for sharing a little Vague But True.
My pleasure.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Comedy Appetizers. Be sure to share with family and friends, and we will see you this Sunday for our regular podcast, your host and MC, and again next Friday for another episode of Comedy Appetizers. Bye!